Yeah.
Tiffany from Shameless Soft Serve.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Tiffany, last time, it's really awesome that you're, taking this on your business, because you're at this really great. You might have already like conquered the world from the last time you and I talked. The last time you and I talked, you were getting together. We're going to get together a 90-day plan, and you had negotiated terms for your trailer, but I don't know if you've actually received that yet. You're in the space of like branding or wrapping or trying to figure it all out to kind of get yourself launched within the next, couple 90 days, 2 months, I would say. So you tell me what's been going on in your space since well, actually the first thing I like to do with my clients is just kind of like take a deep breath and like clear. Oh, I see. Is that the man in the background? Hey, man.
No, that's the man's first in charge. The man's actually at this EO Accelerator group thing today. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Just to, like get clear if there's anything going on, just like take a big deep breath and kind of clear everything and get really super present so we can be really powerful and effective here. So you tell me what's been going on since last time you and I chatted.
A lot. I guess my major thing right now is I'm looking for my baker. So since I'm a one-woman show as of now, and I've developed the ice cream, I've developed the concept, I've developed the menu and what I want. I just know that my passion is going to be actually like creating this business and running it exactly how I know it should be run, and delivering, the cornerstone philosophy of low sugar and healthy living. But my passion's not baking, and I need to find somebody who is going to contribute, 50% of the menu, and also want to be a part of my company and feel like it's part of their own. And it's just been really difficult to find that person so far. So I think there's like 5 or 6 people that I guess I'm just maybe not communicating very effectively and letting them know exactly what I'm looking for. Because, you have this business that you're like, this is a great opportunity. Like, why don't you jump in to be a part of it? And but yeah, I think that person is just so important that it's just going to take a little bit longer than I expected to find them. But that's a major thing. Outside of that, the machine, this like $25,000 machine that I found. Are you there?
I'm still here.
Frozen.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. So yeah, I'll have a giant commercial ice cream machine in my house. I get to start selling ice cream to the neighborhood. The truck it's pretty much mine. There was just a few things, and the lawyer was out on spring break for the contract, so that should be hopefully done by next week. And then the design, I've already got a bunch of Pinterest pins, and I know exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
And I have a friend that's just her corner. Like, she's really good at things like this. She does it as a hobby. She builds furniture. So the outside, we'll be using a lot of like shiplap, which is like wood applique kind of deal. So I have a really good idea of what I want the outside to be, and it's not going to be something that's out of our range of doing. So, and then the inside, I'm gonna have to get an electrician and figure out this generator situation. So that's going to be pretty much, and then there's a couple of equipment that this truck is coming with, like a giant deep freeze that I don't feel like I need, but I just need to figure out exactly what I'm going to be doing from the inside of it. Like, if I'm going to actually be producing any of the baked goods, I don't think I will. But again, this person who needs to come on is going to dictate how they want their working environment to be. Because of the Texas cottage law, I could make things at home, or a person could make them in their home, and then I could sell them from the trailer. And once we hit $50,000 in sales, then I would have to switch over into a commercial kitchen. So the idea is that would give us, probably 3 or 4 months of ramping up, that we can make that transition. And by the time I go into a commercial kitchen, I'll know exactly what kind of products sell well, exactly what the recipe should be. Like, everything will be perfected. So I'm not renting $300 an hour for trial and error in a kitchen.
Right.
So that's great, as long as Texas cottage law doesn't cover wholesale. But if the person, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about today, is, employees, like, how does can I pay them contract labor? Like, I know that I can't do wholesale under Texas Cottage, but can I pay them hourly and contract labor to produce these baked goods? Or do they have to be, an employee that gets a W-2 from me, and how that all works? And I wasn't able to find that information clear cut online when it comes to a food trailer situation. So that's happened. I'm in talks with a location on Barnett Road, which I'll keep that to later telling you when we're not being recorded, just because nothing is set in stone and everything. But I'm really excited and hopeful on that area. But kind of with the same thing with the baker, I'm sticking to my guns. I know that the location is really important to my branding.
Right.
So, this location is very in line with my branding. So so those are kind of everything that's happening, and I've made my 90-day plan that I meant to send you before this, but I'll send it to you afterwards.
Okay.
And just all the action steps that need to be taken within different weeks and whatnot. And I know I'm missing probably like 90% of them, so that's where I hope that you can look at that and be like, hey, did you plan on doing this thing that's required for you to open? Or doing good. Did you mention the woman from Rebel Cheese?
Yes, Kirsten.
Met her yesterday on this great cruise that Austin Independent Business Alliance put on.
Yes.
And there was a ton of people on that boat, and she and I just happened to find each other, and we basically hung out the entire time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like she and I are very in similar positions, like she's opening in 90 days. She's storefront, obviously, not food truck. But she's also going to be the first business of her kind. She'll be the first in Texas. I'm just going to be the first in Austin. But I know we had a lot to talk about. I was helping her a lot with her marketing and things like that's totally out of her realm. So it felt good to be able to give advice.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm actually managing their social media.
Okay.
Now, so
I sent her all of my recommendations, so she'll probably be talking to you about a lead form ad campaign, and then a page like campaign to get their likes up to 1,000, so that they can turn around and create lookalike audiences and warm audiences.
Yes.
And then the form campaigns to collect email addresses. Yeah, so I just actually like 2 hours ago sent her this like huge long email address about it. So.
Oh, okay, good. Did you mention that you and I were working together, or did
not? No, because I didn't. Yeah, because she didn't say her company name, and then it wasn't until she emailed me, and I was like, wait, Rebel Cheese, that sounds really familiar. I think something about that. Yeah, so I just
I'm intimately involved with what they've got going on for sure. And so anyway, so if I hear you correctly, we wanted to tackle just the highlights of the 90-day. We want to get clear on employee versus contractor. You talked about your location. We can talk about that offline. That's fine and good. But I mean, as long as things are moving in that regard, getting that in the timeline, exploring all the avenues for finding the baker, and then, a timeline and execution for, getting the electrician, getting your place fit up, your trailer fit up. And then of course, getting the deep freeze sold and stuff like that. On the trailer and the machine, have you received the machine?
No, it's in freight right now. I'm getting updates from the freight company.
Okay.
So it should be here. I think April 2nd was let me see here.
Okay, so next week. That's like Tuesday.
Next week. Yeah, I think it's like April 2nd. Let me double check on that.
Okay, and then so the lawyers were reviewing documents for the trailer. So how did that work for you? Have you paid for it in full? Have you just done a deposit? You mentioned you were giving them payments.
Yes, so I made the contract, and then I used a outlet called lawdepot.com and just got a form contract for a leasing agreement for a car, and then manipulated it. So what right now, unless this lawyer, changes his mind, right now it's 50% down. So it's a $16,000 deal with 50% down at 5% interest over 18 months at monthly payments.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that there was just some clauses he wanted in there, like insurance. I guess his name needs to also be on the insurance. And then something else. So,
So you don't technically own it. You won't technically own it until that lease is executed.
well, I should. So I think it might just be you know how my husband's on my car insurance, but I own the car. I think it's kind of like that. So he'll just like be on the insurance. But no, I'm going to insist I have to own it because I have to register it and get it passed by the city and all that kind of stuff. So I can't, and it's like, it's my business. So I don't think I would be shocked if that came back and it wasn't actually mine until it was paid in full. So yeah, so we'll see.
But you did a trailer, not a truck, right?
Trailer.
You did a trailer. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you have a truck to tow it and tow it and all that stuff?
Yeah, my husband was a musician, so he has a giant touring van that he still has. So yeah, that will be the van that will tow it. But since I'm not doing events, it will stay stationary at the space.
Right.
100%. And so yeah, I just have to get it from point A to point B. But yeah, I do have that method.
So how did that work? I'm curious. Did you give the buyer or the owner of the trailer money to hold it, or?
As of now, nothing has changed hands because he wanted to get the contract and the lawyer all squared away. But he is actually he's a broker. He's a real estate agent under my friend who owns the real estate agency. So that's how he came about. So it's kind of a friend deal. So I think it's like interest. Yeah, I mean, he could totally tell me tomorrow that he sold it for the full asking price of $20,000. I'm hoping that's not going to happen, but if that is, then it's back to the drawing board. Because as of right now, I've got a PayPal business loan for half the amount that I needed to open, so for $15,000. And then I am meeting with an investor, a possible investor, on the 4th of April to hopefully get the next $15,000. And that was what I had projected for the entire opening was $30,000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, definitely keep me posted when it's kind of like inked and you have the document that you need to be able to get it registered and inspected and all that stuff. Cause I mean, I think that's the next thing.
Yes.
Obviously your machine's gonna come. But then once the trailer, then starting to look at getting it fit up. And so he's the one who got the lawyer, because you did the Law Depot, but then he's having his lawyer review the terms. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's all good green light signs. I was just curious because a lot of people in my experience, they've done it a number of different ways. They're like, okay, here's $1,000 to hold it, or here's something to hold it, or so I was more curious kind of where it was like inked and you're kind of like ready to go. But being that you guys there's a friendship relationship there, I think it'll all work itself out.
I think so too. I would be shocked. I mean, like we went all the way out to New Braunfels and he drove in from Austin and we met each other and like I looked at the trailer and we've been going back and forth and I've been like, hey, I have this money for the deposit, like I'm ready. He's like, okay, let's just wait until everything's done with the contract. So
that's good.
Yeah, everything's felt on the up and up. So I think
cool. All right. So that's coming down the pike. And then that'll kind of determine your, kind of like how you, fit it up or equip it. So you have an idea on that? Have you connected to any electricians, or is that still kind of?
No, I figured it was kind of useless until I actually physically had the trailer, and the machine. So, because the machine is the major electricity thing, because from what I'm told, I need a 3-phase generator that can generate up to 30,000 watts. This is like a $10,000 generator. So before I buy that generator, I want to have an electrician come out, look at the truck, look at the machine, and tell me exactly what I need. He's probably going to say I need that thing because I've talked to a few people about it. And then I need to, just have that person say, okay, because right now there's no, whenever I expected, there's no way of running a cord from inside the trailer to outside. So if I understand generators correctly, then the machine's going to have to plug in outside the trailer to the generator, unless I'm just completely missing something there. And then after talking to the person who's selling the machine, he's like, he did some research for me, and he said that a lot of people cut a hole in the bottom of the food truck so the machine can vent out of that hole, for the purpose of not getting the food truck up to like 100 degrees during the summer.
Yes.
He was just like, the machine will be venting. A lot of people will just cut. So I don't know if that's an electrician I need to talk to on that one, or just a handyman in general on actually like cutting a hole in the bottom of the truck and what that will entail, and how to make sure that bugs and stuff don't get inside my truck, like, I mean,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, all these things. I'm like, well, if there's a hole in it, how am I going to keep, insects and stuff out, because I'm going to be obviously storing food and making food in there. So all these things, I have questions for people. I'm just, until I physically have that truck and physically have that machine, I just feel like I'm kind of spinning my wheels. So.
Right. Yeah. So, and I understand those machines. I had one at my restaurant and it was hot.
Okay, that's what I was told. Yeah. So.
I mean, it wasn't like blazingly hot. I had it in the corner,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you definitely have to keep it vented for sure. And food trucks have it's all like, think of it as like a little miniature house with in terms of like the electrical needs. And so they typically have a big plug on the outside of the truck. So all the wires and everything is run behind the walls or behind some sort of, you don't have wires hanging randomly and, out in the open.
Yeah.
And so your machine, whatever machines you're using, would have a plug, an outlet, and then the wiring from that outlet would go through the master plug, and then the master plug would be outside of the truck, and that's where you would connect it to, a generator or some other source of power. You don't plug in each individual.
The whole truck would be powered by the generator.
The whole truck, yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well,
you can have an option of having multiple generator situations to where it's like you need a special generator for the soft serve and then just, another phase for your other refrigeration needs.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that person was talking about in terms of having to vent or having to plug in the actual machine to the generator.
Okay. He didn't say anything about that. That's just me assuming, thinking about it. Because from the way I understand it, the rest of the truck is good to go. Like, it's got refrigeration and the deep freeze, and it all runs on, I think the snow cone machine was on, I'm selling the snow cone machine, was on a 220 volt. And then the rest of the machine is 120 or whatever, 240, whatever. And that the machine itself was a 3-phase machine, but nothing else in the truck would be. So it would just be the machine itself that needed to plug into that generator. Because in my head, I would imagine it'd be cheaper and more cost efficient if the rest of the truck can plug into a regular electricity source, and then just the machine is pulling off that generator. Because the generator is obviously going to take, my dad was like, you need to get a diesel generator. And I'm like, wait, what? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess the generator isn't plugged into anything. So I need to.
Keep in mind too, that if your intention is to have it be stationary,
yes,
you're going to want to find a location that can supply you with the amperage for the plug.
Okay.
Generator's not even an issue.
Okay. So, but what do you mean the generator is not even an issue? Because the generator, from what I understand, the machine itself, you can't just plug it into a 220.
Right, but your main plug for your total amperage for your truck is going to have for the needs for your soft serve machine incorporated into it.
Okay.
You're just drawing a larger load than, say, a taco truck. That machine is going to have, a certain amount of amperage, particularly if it's a 208 3-phase.
Okay.
Most of those machines are 3-phase. Do you know the specifics? It is a 3-phase?
It's 3-phase, yeah.
So you're going to need, but whoever is housing you, like if you're paying rent for a property and you have a permanent location, they have power poles there for you to plug into, and all the power that the food trucks have takes a special plug. So you just have to make sure that your load is that they can handle your load and that you can plug into what they have to provide to you. And in that regard, you're not using the generator.
Oh, okay. So then I wouldn't even need the generator in that case.
No, you only need generators for events and when you're off site.
Oh, okay.
or as a backup for whatever reason. It's nice to have, but I mean, generators can run what, like $3,000 at least?
No, this one is like $10,000.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
like,
you know, in incorporating that into your location strategy, getting really clear on your electrical needs and what the landlords can provide to you in that regard.
okay.
Like if you're
Okay.
giving a landlord $1,000 a month, 1,500, 2,000, whatever you're paying,
Yeah.
make sure your electric is covered. A lot of times they will just charge you a flat rate and then meter you. Some of them are separately metered, some parks, some, it just depends if you have a standalone bar location or what your location is. You know what I mean? Like where you're parked. If you're parked in a park, somebody who already has power. Do you know
So this location is a parking lot of a retail store.
Okay, so would they be pulling power for you?
Yeah, I mean, we have not discussed. Basically, where I'm at with them is after tracking her down and giving her all the information, she did not say no. She said, let's talk more about it, which is the most positive response I've received so far in a location that I'm interested in. So.
Okay, so if it's a really hot location for you and there's not, is there an existing food truck or trailer there now?
There used to be.
Oh, okay.
To be, not anymore. So I got this lead from the women that own 5,000 Burnett that park there. It's near there. And they said, you know what, there used to be a food truck here. You should reach out to them. We don't know why there isn't one there anymore, but you should reach out to them and find out. So for me, I am not, like, it does not concern me at all if there might have been a food truck there and they were unsuccessful, because this place has all the things I'm looking for, which is plenty of parking. It's associated with a business that is within my brand. And it that's all I need. And it's in the Burnett Road area where I really want to launch my brand. I know how to bring people to my location. So I'm not concerned that there might, and that's kind of how I'm selling this person. I'm like, listen, I'm a marketer. I know how to bring people here. And I will also market your business, you know, for free, because it's going to play into my own marketing plan. So really hoping that they understand this opportunity for them. Yeah.
So do you know, so I guess that would be a kind of a big to-do list, and getting clear on the location, the electrical situation at the location. If there, just because there was a food truck there does not necessarily mean that they were provided power. They're not all provided power. So that's all going to play into what your monthly rent looks like, as well as if you're going to do generator versus not. So basically, it all sounds fine and good. Oh, yes, we'd like to have you here and da-da-da-da. But when they start talking about having to pay an electrician like $5,000 to pull power from their building to provide you with your own dedicated plug, then that becomes, you know, because the city wants it all separately metered or some, you know, technically that's, and so that's why they have the poles for the different plugs. So having a generator and having a permanent spot is not ideal in a perfect world, because you're just kind of like lugging gasoline back and forth and having to deal with the gasoline situation on a daily basis. So I would definitely get clear on the electrical needs, and that's going to trickle down to your overall budget. You know, like, do you even need to spend? If they have a plug and you're good to go, you've just saved 10 grand. Or if they're like, no, we don't have a plug, but we'll get one, it's going to be $5,000. Maybe you negotiate something like you'll pay a percentage of that, or maybe you'll have a reduced rent or an increased rent. I mean, you have to be very mindful of, you don't want to necessarily get into the business of improving the landlord's property for yourself, but then also improving it for someone else. You know what I mean? Let's just say you move or you find another location. You don't want to pay for the entirety of that electrical improvement.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just like when I was looking for a storefront and my realtor was like, they will usually split the build out for you, like 50-50, you know?
Yeah. It's all negotiable, and it's all a game. So being that you have the value of also marketing their business, as well? That's kind of nebulous. I know you said you do it for free, but that doesn't change the fact that there's value to their business and their bottom line and their cash flow more so than if you were just a regular taco truck not doing anything.
Exactly.
You know, so taking that into account into your negotiation of, I mean, have you guys talked about rent or anything like that yet?
No, I mean, it literally, this is like not even a 48 old like deal. This happened like so like how I went, so the Crestview shopping plaza, are you familiar with the Crestview shopping plaza?
Yes.
Rolo del Pizza, okay. That's another serendipitous thing that happened yesterday on that cruise. So that whole shopping plaza, like that is my dream spot, like to be in that parking lot, especially right next to like a little deli or something like that. Well, after stalking all the business owners, and finally after 3 of them, and one of them told me like, you know, this is the situation. The property owner is basically like the Wizard of Oz and does not want to talk to anybody, and you have 0 chance of going in here. Well, then I see the pharmacies being built out for a new business, and I'm like, well, what's going on over there? She was like, I don't know, I can't give you any details, you know. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I heard that you're also connected to this other business on Burnett Road. I was like, is that a no too? And she was like, no, absolutely not. Here's the name of this person. So I was like, all right, sweet. So then yesterday I called that person, you know, got their email address, sent them an email, and then she replied back and said, yeah, let's talk more. So that's what happened yesterday. So on this cruise that I went on yesterday also, I met the person who's building out the pharmacy randomly. Like he came up to me and was like, do you do soft serve ice cream? And I was like, well, actually, yes, I do. And then come to find out, because he's going to have ice cream in his location. And so out of like 100 people, those are the 2 people I met, him and her. So
that's awesome.
Is on my side, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Okay, so sounds like you're pretty close to getting clear on what your situation, your location situation is.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm clear, and I feel like that's the most important thing. Like I know what I want.
Yeah. So I would advise you, because you don't necessarily have someone, and this is the game that I played when I was representing tenants as the middle guy. I didn't have any affinity towards one location or another, and there's a benefit to just playing it cool. And you know, it's like the saying that says, he who can walk away from the deal wins.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to let the property owner know that you just love it and would do anything for it.
But it's too late for that.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Because then you're kind of, I mean, okay, so backing up, if you've already kind of put all your cards out there, you know you love it, just go back and just stay in the space of knowing the value that you have to deliver to them.
Right.
Generating traffic and being like, you know what, I'm going to generate value, and this is my background, and I do marketing, and this is all the extra, here's all the bonus things that you get. Like, and you really standing for wanting a win-win relationship to where you feel like you are improving their property, whether that be, you know, spending a couple $1,000s to get the electrical, or bringing, you know, a couple thousand people for a grand opening, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, also acknowledging like you want a long-term win-win to where, you know, you're not necessarily, and you guys haven't even started talking about rent or anything like that anyway.
Yeah.
So just, you still have some time to go back and say, this is what works for you. Do you have an idea on your budget of what you want to spend on rents?
I priced, so that 5,000 Burnett area gave me what they charge for rent was like between like $600 and $1,000 a month. So that's what I'm pretty much budgeting for right now.
Right.
And then talking to people that have done like the Congress thing, you know, again, I think you and I were actually talking about that. I can get up to like $4,000 a month, you know, like also Barton Springs. So the 5,000 Burnett, that food park, I mean, it's so baller. It's so great. So if they're charging between 600 and 1,000, then I think that's what I should shoot for.
Yeah.
I don't think that this location that I'm targeting is worth more than that, if that's what they're charging.
Right.
So
I would go in. So I would, you know, have your strategy to be, have her, well, it's kind of like who talks money first. Never want to put a lot of, I mean, you can put that out there like the average, because I was going to say for a standalone area, regardless of how great it is, it's still standalone. You're still going to be responsible for generating a lot of your own traffic. Like a lot of the trucks at 5000 Burnett, people know that that's where the food trucks are. You know,
Right.
they might not even necessarily have a specific food vendor in mind. They just know they can get something over there.
Not only that, they've got like live music, and they do marketing, and they've got the
Right.
playground, and they've got the seating areas, and like, yeah, that's why I was like, they're charging that, then there's no way that I should go over that, because that's so much added value that they're giving, and I haven't, found another food trailer park that has an opening that is in the area. So
Right. I would say like, if you could stay in the 750 range, that would
Okay.
probably be good. I mean, anything lower
with
than
or without power?
that, in a perfect world, including your utilities.
Okay.
Always start low, in my mind,
Yeah.
especially if they had a food truck there before. And the factor is they've had a food truck there before. Do they know about you and your brand and stuff like that?
Just from like the intro email that I sent them, yes,
Yes.
I told them, and that's where it came in, that they know that I want to be there, because I was like, here's the reason I want to be here, because this is my brand, these are my target demographics. Here's, it's everything is kind of playing in there. I know the area, I have a connection to it, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I explained to them the brand and the philosophy behind everything.
So the general rule of thumb is no more than 10% of your sales should go towards rent.
Right.
Anything under 10, really. I mean, if you could be at 5, even better. So what is that? I don't do math on the fly. So that's
Well,
1,000. I mean, that should be easy math, right? 1,000, 10,000.
where are you getting my sales from?
Well, I'm saying if you're times 0.1, yes, you're going to need to generate a minimum of $10,000 in sales
Yes.
just to cover your rent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on the high side.
Yeah.
So versus, if you were at a 5% delta, then you'd be 5,000 of sales. Basically, you're selling 10 grand and that's going right towards your rent, because your profit,
Mm-hmm.
your profit might be 20, 25%. Have you done all oh yes, you've done all the business plan and all that other stuff. So
I have, but they're all made up numbers, so it's just, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not really going to know. So I think the best safeguard that I could probably do is to just only get like a 3-month lease in the beginning, and to say, hey, like, I need to know, this is brand new, I haven't done this, like, I don't know what my sales are going to be. I need to make sure that rent is in that 10% threshold. So can, we only sign on for a 3-month in the beginning, or even month to month. They go from that, it doesn't,
Right.
They don't lose anything. I'm either there or I'm not there. So
Right.
it's like, it's not like it'd be like for 5,000 per net, that'd be a different story. They've got spaces, they're treating it like a apartment complex essentially. So
Right.
So that's something I hadn't thought of. So yes, thank you. So like a month to month, or even a 3-month, and then that way, renegotiation if I find that my sales aren't able to cover that, if they want me to stay and build my business there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think too, and going back to the electrical issue, getting clear on that, because that's going to determine a lot of your strategy on how long you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning
Yes.
if it needs power, and they're willing to pay, or they want half, or let's just say it needs $5,000 worth of power, you're still saving $5,000. Even if you paid for all of it, you'd save $5,000 by improving their property to give you power versus buying a $10,000 generator.
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't want to spend $5,000. Maybe you say, I'll give you $2,500, but can I have that $2,500 back as rental credits? Then your term, it's more fair for you to do a longer term in that regard, because you're improving it and the landlord's improving it. So that's the trade-off there when it comes to the electrical. It's kind of like a little bit of a domino effect. So just, but I think that electrical is really going to determine your strategy. So definitely keep me posted when you find out that information.
Okay. Absolutely.
You said you also mentioned on the when we talked that you go to the forum directly and search the messages. You can search all the messages on the forum.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Or recommendations. Now, if for whatever reason you don't see a reply in there, you should see replies, because when you actually use the email and you reply all, it actually gets logged as a reply.
Yeah, I've seen those.
In the forum. So you can go electrician and you can see people who've had good experiences and bad experiences. So it's a really valuable thing. A lot of people have talked about HVAC, plumbing, fryer, handyman. I know there's a couple handyman stuff. I've got a food truck that I'm helping sell for someone else. It's already being held. Otherwise, I'd be trying to peddle it off on you. No, don't take that trailer. I got a truck for you.
Yeah.
So it's looking good. Like he should settle here in the next couple days.
Okay.
A handyman that helped fit that whole thing up. I don't think his contact info is on the trailer site or the chamber site. So I'll give you that. I'll give you his information. I mean, he's really good at like cutting holes out for ventilation or for hoods. The thing with cutting a hole out is unless you're kind of pushing the air out, well, you got to make sure you're also pushing the air out. So I think you could get away with those.
I think the machine pushes it out, right?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, so it basically would have to be like really up against the wall. You could still get one of those exhaust fans, not like the hoods, but like those window fans that help.
Oh yeah.
Push the air out, but really making sure it's configured to where that air isn't getting sucked out, that the AC isn't right above.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so it's going to be warm either way.
Oh no, like I'm already consigned myself to sweating, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a small price to pay. Yeah. So, and that's, that's one thing that I know that I just need to defer to whoever I end up choosing that comes highly recommended, and just take whatever they say and be like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Let's do it. So, I mean, yeah, like I'm projecting 90 days. If this investor doesn't come through, then I'll have to keep doing everything myself, which will just make it stretch out a lot longer, because I'm going to have to keep taking on more clients and then doing that work and then cycling that money through it, like I've been doing it. So it'll, either I have that big injection of cash and then I can do everything the person recommends, or I don't, and then I'll still do everything they recommend, just slowly. So,
what's going on? What's the next step with them, the investor people?
April 4th. So I met him at it was called the Capitalism Conference in Dallas, beginning of January. And I pitched to a bunch of people, and he was the only one that came out of it. And he lives in Sherman, Oklahoma, and he owns his own internet business. And he's selling it, and it should sell in June. And he wants to take the money that he sold it and invest in companies. That's what he wants to do. So he went to that conference looking for people like that. And so we'll see. It's just, he could be full shit or he could be legit. Like, I don't know. He's it's one of those things. But this meeting on April 4th is when I'm going to tell him, like, I need this money now. If you can do this, then you're in, and I'll give you a percentage of the company, or we can set it up as a loan at a percentage, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
If you're not, then, I'm going to have to keep moving forward. And the more money I put into the thing, the less I'm going to give percentage to somebody else. So I want to deal with having somebody else be involved in it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just a tricky thing. I mean, we'll see what happens. There's so many people that are like, give me a year of proof of concept and we'll give you all the money you want. So it's just like, it's ideally, you want to own your business 100%.
Right.
So it's frustrating. The whole money thing has been really frustrating, but I'm really grateful that PayPal, I mean, like, everybody should know about PayPal business loans. It's amazing. It was so easy.
Oh, really? Because I always get the little alerts. They're always trying to lure me into stuff.
Yeah. And I did too, through my other company. And that's when I was like, I don't own a home, I don't own a boat, so it's like I didn't have any assets. So it's just like, how am I going to get a small business loan? It's going to be really difficult. And I got that alert, and I was like, let me check this out. And it just, next thing you know, 2 weeks later, it was 15 grand inside my PayPal account.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think it's like, the interest wasn't like insane. It's costing me $2,000. So I pay them back $17,000.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm a big advocate of putting, keeping as much of your business as possible. So pitching with the investor dude on the 4th, what would a repayment schedule look like?
Yeah.
Before you start giving away percentages of your business. I mean,
they get paid repayment 80% of 80% of profit until the loan is repaid, and then after that, it's a percentage. I valued the company during the first rounds at $750,000. So, and he already knows that. That's already been a number that has been thrown around there. So the percentage would, rely on whatever money he puts in compared to $750,000.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm not opposed to it. The most important thing to me is to get this thing open. I feel like I'm in a race. I feel like somebody's going to do it. If it's not me, and whoever does, it's going to get brand recognition, and it's going to be a thing. So it's just more important for me to get it open than anything else.
Yeah. So a couple things on that. You mentioned brand recognition. The last time you and I talked, you'd mentioned, well, the logo's okay. You're kind of talking to other people. You're open to like what's going on.
So I was hoping that you could give me some guidance on, I feel very strong, and I'll send you some of these pictures that I found like on Pinterest as far as like what I want the food trailer to look like. And I feel like once I get that outfitted and I get the recipes done so we can get these finished products, I do a professional photo shoot with the truck trailer, with the food items. I feel like the brand will kind of shoot up around that.
Yes.
As far as like, the imaging and whatnot. I do like my logo. I'm not sold on the colors. I want it to be accessible to children, but I also want it to feel like, an upscale place, I'm trying to think of somebody who's nailed it. It's nothing coming to mind right now, but you kind of know what I'm talking about. Like someplace.
Have you seen Jenny?
Like an Uchi branding that is also like accessible to like families and kids. Something that, like in that aspect of it. I mean, Lucy's Fried Chicken did a great job too.
Yeah.
This is more of like the Texas U-Haul, and I'm going to be more like a Whole Foods, but like a Whole Foods kind of like branding mentality that's also like a P. Terry's eye-catching, but refines like a Whole Foods Uchi.
Right.
So what's happening there? So it's really hard to nail.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I wanted to speak to that a little bit because you had mentioned, you wanted to appeal to kids. And so there's two kind of spaces in and of itself. The product in and of itself appeals to
kids. Yes.
And the kids within us all. Like, I feed I'm like, here's some ice. Hold on. Like, let me eat all of the gelato first before I give it to you, So I mean, something that I enjoy, a lot of adults enjoy as well. So you can have a adult oriented, I shouldn't say adult oriented, but like a grown up feeling, sophisticated, upscale kind of with a clapboard finished tray, that kind of radio type feel of a brand delivery through, the elements that you use on the trailer, as well as the visual elements that you use on your website, your social media and all that stuff. And the product in and of itself is going to appeal to kids as well, because adults are like, oh, it's not a juvenile thing. So, I mean, that was the one thing where it's like, there is room if your intention is to appeal to these CrossFit communities, these paleo communities, these people who are carb conscious, the camp gladiators, the grown-ups who are watching their sugar intake.
Right.
I would count myself in that regard as well. It's like, ooh, 5 grams of sugar. Yeah. Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
If your intention is that, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm sure a large percentage of the people, the adults who are in this space also have children. So I would prefer to take them to someplace like your place over Baskin Robbins or Dairy Queen, like you said, like Dairy Queen is like, but You know, like last time I was at the beach, I'm like, I'm going to Dairy Queen. You know, I want the Blizzard, the whole thing.
Right.
But given the choice, I would like your concept as well. So I say all that to say, there's, you know, definite room to kind of grow up the logo a little bit.
Okay.
Particularly,
I actually, so I found this person on Etsy that does these like laser cut wood logos.
oh,
So I was like, how could you take this logo and make it a laser cut wood? And then we could have just a floating of, because I really do like the ice cream cone. I like the way it's ribbons.
yes,
Because it's different. It doesn't, you know, it's a soft serve ice cream cone. I do want that to be my logo.
Yes.
But it's got a modern, like weird kind of twist on it. I'm not sold on my font. I don't, you know, we went.
I was going to mention the font.
I finally just, to my designer, like she was just not getting it. And I finally was like, you know what, that's fine. For now, that's fine. Like, let's just keep it at that. Like, I saw something more of like a cursive retro with a little bit more like a calligraphy kind of effect to it. Either that or the stark opposite where it was just like block letters, like sans serif, you know, kind of situation. But yeah, it just, it looks like that lobster font off of like PicMonkey. Like it's not, but I just was like, I got other things I have to deal with right now. So yeah, but I do like the ice cream cone itself. The colors in the font, I'm not super sold on. But the ice cream cone, I do want to keep that. And I think it would be an awesome wood cutout to put giant ones on either side of the trailer with, you know, on top of the Tiffany blue background with a matching shiplap that matches the logo. So it brings the whole continuity of the truck. And then at the top of it with like wood that's sticking up around the top of it. So it kind of looks almost like not less like a food trailer or more like a tiny house kind of situation.
Yes.
So, and I have a very strong vision for the food trailer, which is very reassuring because that was something I was really worried about because I don't have a designer's eye at all. I'm really bad at it. So the logo itself, I was going to revisit it after I actually had like the, you know, more of like the trailer and the pictures put together. It really is just the font and the colors. I feel I do like the ice cream cone itself.
Yes, that's good. I mean, I think I'm visioning something like a simple, like how you said, like the sans serif, because I'm picturing something kind of simple with the font.
Okay, yeah.
Just to offset, and not heavy either, like probably lighter and sans serif to offset, so that the visual element of the cone becomes kind of the dominant visual element, the dominant visual feel. So you don't have double cursive, double swirl, like where am I like feeling like with it, but just feeling like balance. So it's like kind of has this light airy foundation, but then it also has the swirl. And if you do that with any kind of like branding or like a wood kind of thing, and so you can kind of keep that grounded, natural, you know, kind of evoke in someone's mind the feeling of earth, material, ground, natural. You know, you're not going into the world of artificiality, which I think
and I love that. And that's
where the conflict was with the visual and what your product actually is, because your product's actually like local farms, local dairy, natural, you know, all these kind of like groundy, earthy things. But then you have a lot of bright neon kind of colors going on that kind of contribute a little bit to a juvenile feel as opposed to an adult sophisticated thing. But then also, so that's cool. I mean, I think I say all that to say that all takes time to get that worked out. So to definitely have that in process. I personally want to go and look at all font. Like I did this for Kristen because she didn't even like the designer that she ended up working with. And so she's working with someone else and I gave them a bunch of fonts. I just love shopping fonts.
That's why I was going to ask. I was like, if you have any fonts that you can put in front of me, I can send it back to her and she could, you know, manipulate it. She just needs to be told exactly what to do. I mean, like, and I could, you know, do it myself too, Photoshop and whatnot.
I like it. I want to put it on my arbitrary to-do list. Just
the one that never gets
done. I can just like shop fonts. This is fun. Doing it when the kids are, you know, playing with their video games or whatever. Okay. All right. So I'm going to also send you the handyman stuff just so you have it. The one guy that I know who did the bus that I'm working on or that's being worked on now. you've got your meeting 4/4 with the investor, but that's also, I think that's a Thursday as well. So we need to get clear on our next little meet time, and that's not something we have to do right now. We can figure it out after. But you're going to send me the 90-day thing. Is there something specific? Well, it sounds like you'll get your machine.
I'm actually meeting him on 4/3, by the way.
Oh, okay. So that's a Wednesday. So that'll be good. So you're going to get your machine and have your investor meeting. And then I would definitely like to see you get clear on the electrical situation.
Yes.
Maybe check in with me. Either call or text or whatever is fine on the electrical situation before you start talking numbers with the landlord.
Okay.
Just see if they have power.
Yeah.
If they're able to provide power, or if they have power to plug in.
Okay.
Because that's going to determine your overall budget for generator and the whole strategy for everything, really.
Yes, absolutely.
And that'll impact your investor meeting as well. If you need, okay, I don't need your 10 grand. Maybe I can get away with pseudo financing it through a landlord improvement.
Yeah, totally. No, that would be awesome. It's encouraging to hear that I might not even need a generator. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I guess he just assumed that I would be like, on a food truck rolling around. So that's why he said something about the generator. From the very beginning, I was told I'd need a generator, and I just never really questioned it. So this is the first time I'm like, oh, okay. So if I'm actually plugged into electricity, I don't need a generator. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to get clear on, you had mentioned a 50 with the cottage laws and your baker.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned a $50,000 threshold. Is that a cumulative thing?
Yeah, I haven't been able to find any information. I think it's just within a year is what I assume. So if you sell more than if you make more than $50,000 from your cottage produced baked good, then you now are under different rules. I think at that point you have to be in a commercial kitchen. I think it's what it is.
Okay.
The whole thing is super arbitrary. The fact that the Texas cottage law even exists is kind of crazy. I know, but I'm like, okay, well, if it's there, then I'm going to take advantage of it. The only thing that I Googled every food truck cottage law, and the only thing that I found was that you cannot sell your goods wholesale. So I cannot find a baker and buy stuff from them wholesale. They will have to be either contract labor, which, do you know anything about? So the thing for employees, like if I find somebody to work in the trailer, like they are a W-2 employee.
Right.
Okay.
So here's an easy distinction between employee and contractor. If you have so contractor, as far as the IRS is concerned, double check with your tax accountant person. Do you have an accountant tax person, by the way?
I have a CPA. I don't have a bookkeeper yet. That was something else I was going to talk to you about.
CPA should, because my CPA, well, I'll check she does a number of the food trucks, Carly Biddle. She does bookkeeping and CPA stuff, so I can check with her and connect you guys. But here's, that was just my little legal disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer or giving you legal advice. Right. And if you go to research the difference between employee and contractor, according to the IRS, one of the main distinction is the hours. So if you require a certain time that an individual be at a certain premises, then they are classified as an employee.
Okay.
That's why Uber they're contractors. Uber's like, log in, work whenever you want. So the minute you start giving somebody be here at 9 a.m., we're having a meeting where this is a mandatory meeting, this is they're an employee.
Okay.
So your contractors more than likely are going to be people like me, people like, people doing other things, your designers.
It could be a baker because I'm not telling them when they have to.
It could be your baker, right? And so I know this is how Rebel Cheese is doing it as well. They're coordinating with a vegan chef to help perfect their recipes. So they're paying her as a consultant. She's working and there's a scope of work. So they're doing A, B, and C. And so there's a scope of work, and that's your contractor, that's your consultant. There's deliverables, there's all these other things. But be here at this time on this day, that's an employee.
Okay. That's perfectly clear. good to go. Yeah.
So more than likely you're going to be mainly employees.
Well, yeah, it just, yes, because I'm going to have to, so either this baker that comes on is also somebody that wants to work in the trailer, and then in that instance, they would be an employee, or this baker is going to be somebody that's completely separate, that's like, I just like to make cookies at home, and I'm going to make all your stuff for you at home, and then deliver it to your trailer, you know, every day, every other day, however you want to do it, and that's how this relationship's going to be, and you're going to pay me, you know, however I've decided you want to pay me. Because, you know, through my other business, I've hired lots and lots of people. I mean, even now I, you know, pay somebody that is a virtual assistant in the Philippines. I mean, all that kind of stuff. And I've done contract stuff all the time.
Right.
So yeah, so either that baker would be that person and then they'll have to be an employee, or they will be, you know, however they want to do it. And then I will have to hire somebody to actually work in the trailer whenever I can't be there, you know, 'cause I can't be there all day, every day. But so we'll figure that out.
on that regard, you had mentioned you were going to post it. I know you posted on Craigslist. Have you done Poached and In the Weeds jobs? Have you done those as well?
I have. Not too much has been coming in. I'm surprised. I just really, you know, it's crazy. I really thought this was going to be like so easy to find this person.
Well, you know, it's also, I think you've got time, not that you've got all the time in the world, but you do have a little bit of time because you don't necessarily have a place for them to start working out from. Or,
right.
You know, you might want to kind of reframe it to put out the feelers into your other entrepreneurial communities and things, like looking for a baker, test baker, you know, because then you can start kind of like approaching it as a project,
Okay.
as opposed to an employee.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So then they can work on perfecting the recipes and systems and things like that. And then you can hire an employee, or they could stay on. I mean, because right now your main need is to get the recipes nailed down for the things you want to bake versus the things you want to buy.
Yes, that's exactly what I need, is I need to get the recipes nailed down.
It might be better to do as a project base.
Okay.
Because it kind of feels heavy anyway to feel like you're going to bring somebody on full time,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're obligated to pay them. And
Yeah.
right now your main need is the recipe development.
Yes, that's true. That is true, because I mean, I can find, you know, I can find anybody, a culinary student or whatever, you know, recent grad to execute the actual, if once I have very specific recipes to follow.
Right.
Which as of right now, I do not. I do, push came to shove, but they could be so much better. And I just need to find somebody who's, you know, just talented in that aspect to make them better.
Yeah. And even if you have stuff working and you just want to work on perfecting it, even more of a case for you just to get a small project from someone.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Rebel Cheese, Caitlin?
Kirsten?
Yeah. She's asking her chef, the vegan chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, for recommendations and everything else.
Good.
So I'll reach back out to her and be like, hey, you know, after talking to Case, like maybe frame it as a test baker project, just exactly like you're doing with them, you know, so maybe the catering community, personal chef community, something like that.
Right. And then it's like you're almost approaching it as like a side hustle thing. So you could approach other bakers, because I know somebody who knows one of the head bakers over at Central Market.
Okay.
So, you know, if they're an employee at Central Market doing the baking and they're talented and they're trained, and maybe they could work on perfecting recipes for you just as a side project or something, you know, I think that might help move things forward.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Okay. Cool.
Cool, man. Let's see. So I'm going to send you the handyman. I'm going to play with the fonts. You're going to send me the 90-day stuff. Next week, you will have been clear. We'll be clear on your electrical needs. You're probably a lot more clear on your location needs. Trailer is the lawyer thing with the trailer is the only thing we don't have a definite timeline on. But
could be it should be any day. Yeah. I think that he expected it to be done on Monday. That's what he had said. So.
Oh, okay.
And I reached out to him and he was like, I'm sorry, she's just getting back, and so it's all her. But yeah, he's ready to have this thing be done. Like yeah.
Do you want to be able to know where you are with the investor and your whole money situation before you actually sign on the dotted line for the trailer?
Oh no.
Okay, so you're signing.
I'm done. I mean, those are the two. So that's the thing. It's like, when I wasn't able to get an investor and I was in the position where I just didn't have a huge amount of capital, I was like, well, how am I ever going to afford the truck and the machine? If I get the truck and machine, I can do everything else. I'll figure everything else out. So, and that's, it's funny when you put something out in the universe, I got exactly enough money to buy the truck and the machine.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I know if I have those in my possession, I can make everything else happen even by myself.
Have you considered Kickstarter, Indiegogo, anything like that?
Considered it. It's funny because like I have run so many Kickstarter campaigns for musician clients that I'm just so like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could. It's something I could do. I would prefer not to.
Okay.
But
it just came up for me because there's such a potential to integrate with the other communities, like the fitness communities and these like healthy treat people.
Yeah.
To where you can.
I wonder what I would like give them, in exchange kind of deal. I talked to, so when I was working with the Austin Food Shed investors group, he kept talking about, a GoFundMe or something like that, or Indiegogo. And I was just like, yeah. He's like, well, you can do something where they get like a coupon or whatever, if they contribute or they get to be a part of, they get 10% off anytime they come, kind of deal if they're buying into that. And I'm like, yeah, I suppose I could.
Yeah.
Things just suck so much. It takes so much out.
Like if you're not, it's not the only way to generate money in the universe. So I'm a big believer in go with what feels good. And I think right now it's kind of like, let's see where you are with the investor dude. And because that's kind of like the easiest. We're like, okay, here's this much per month and here's this, and that's just done. And it's not like a whole other thing you have to worry about, or just kind of crossing the bridge when you come to it. It just occurred to me to ask you. Cool. All right. So we clear on, I guess, next steps.
Yep. I'm going to send you my 90-day. You ticked off everything that I am going to be expecting from you with the font and the handyman, and I will keep you updated whenever I talk more with my location person. And the first things that we'll discuss past her wanting me to be there is electrical. And then once I get that information, I'll reach back out to you and let you know before we start to talk numbers.
Right. Cool.
All right.
Exciting.
So pretty outside.
Tell Kirsten I bumped into you, or you bumped into her, or whatever.
Oh yeah, I feel like she and I are gonna end up being friends. So.
She is. I love them. Like her husband Fred is a trip. Like they're almost like complete opposites.
Really?
But they balance each other out like that, and they're a lot of fun to work with. I really enjoy working with them. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for all the things coming down the pike for them for sure. So. Very cool. Definitely make sure you're following them on Instagram. I'm going to kind of start taking over their account here shortly. So
that's good. Yeah, we were talking about that. And I was just like, honestly, you got to be on Facebook. Just have a presence there. And then honestly, that's where your ad accounts live. And I was like, but really Instagram is going to be your bread and butter. And I was just kind of, I was like, your daughter wants to develop these recipes. I was like, she can be just snapping pictures of content, process videos, document the entire build out the space. I mean, like,
that's all the things. Yeah. That's all the things I was telling her too. So I'm glad that she's getting it from you.
Yeah. I know. It's just like, she was like, I just don't know what to post. And I was just like, you have so much. I was like, you don't have to worry about that. So that's cool. All right, Rad. Well then,
all right.
Good talking to you. So same time next week, or you want to kind of play it by ear?
Yes. Let me text you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a 1 to, hold on, next. What's the 4th? I have a 1 to 2. I actually have a 1 to 2 scheduled in Cedar Park.
Okay.
So more than likely I would need to do either morning or afternoon.
Okay.
Do you know what you look like next Thursday?
Always morning. Pretty much after 3:00, I'm useless. I pick up my son at 3:30.
Oh, so, right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
So maybe morning.
10 a.m. Yep.
go ahead and put that in the books. If for whatever reason I move, well, I can just keep that. It doesn't matter if I move to Cedar Park or not.
Okay, I'm flexible.
Just put in 10 there. Awesome. Well, this is an exciting first step, next step, current step, side step.
All the steps.
All the steps.
All the steps.
Thank you so much for letting us record too. I'll let you watch it back, or I mean, what were your thoughts on it? You feel good with being able to share it?
This is completely your thing for your community. I am like most women where I don't want to see myself on a computer camera, so I'm probably not going to watch
Me
it.
too. I'm cutting off my head. I'm like, don't show the whole head. This is a better, like, don't show all my baldness.
We're like, yeah, it was crazy. All this hair is right here. It's insane. You wouldn't believe it.
Exactly. It's what they don't know.
They don't know. So, but yeah, no, you do whatever you need to do. I'm just, if I could possibly help anybody, then yes, please, like, let that contribute to my karma.
You're in a very exciting space, you know, like you're kind of like right there and like planning it all. So it's definitely beneficial. A lot of people are in your space too. And a lot of the people that I've worked with, I mean, I've been in here for like been in the community for like 7 years now. 7 years? 6 years? Anyway, I don't desire that anyone should go out of business. I desire that everybody be successful and go on and fulfill whatever their intentions are. So really, you know, like what we talked about, stuff to think about with your location, your electrical, and the budget, and the, you know, all of the things. You got to think about all of the things at every step. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy that you're on board. So, all right, have a good one. I will talk to you,
You
and
too.
I'll see you next week.